I always feel like every collection is the first one because it leads you to the next one. It's some weird journey that I'm on making clothes.
You know, we often work back to front. I go with a spirit and with a sense of what feels right, and I try not to overthink what the message is.
I love nostalgia. I love figuring out what it is that's making me excited when I look at it. Like, what is it about that? And finding out what the source was, what the influence was, and what was going on. And that's my favorite thing about what I do.
There's no reference on anything that you've seen, no vintage, no streetwear. It's really a work on fashion design.
We've kind of been on a very sporty journey, and I felt like I just wanted to do something that would kind of play with this idea of a harder edge sensibility. And then I started thinking about heavy metal hairbands and Marilyn Manson and how to kind of bring all of those kind of ideas together.
Life outside is violent, and there's so much happening outside, and I should not be supposed to talk about this, but then you want to cocoon yourself and you want to wear your old pieces and retouch them and feel intimate. And it was all about that, actually.
We saw one color turned into so many different colors. It just felt so almost not black. It felt really beautifully light. It just felt right.
I've grown up a lot throughout the last few years, and so has my girl. She's now a woman, and there's definitely a seductress.
It's a little bit of that exploration of both this very sexual being and sexual attitude, but also a very controlled and buttoned up one.
We think that the women are very faceted, and so you can find different attitudes in the same women, but with a good balance. In the past, in our show, we show more the grace, the romanticism, but in this show there is also a sensuality more.
What I wanted to do in this show is that woman, she owns it, she commands the room. During the day, she can go to a board meeting and wear a pinstripe dress, and then at night, she can inspire fantasy.
It was an exercise. You have all those passionate women who are so passionate about fashion, about embellishment, about fabrics. And for me, it was very important to translate that passion into now, to ground it. I really tried to create kind of the right balance between the glamour, but also modern times.
I think people want glamour no matter what. But how do you find a way that it has that restraint? That even at night, can't people look a little bit more demure but still sexy? It wasn't about nudity and slashing and all of that, but it still shows off a woman to her best advantage.
Designing this collection, it sort of evolved into these gangs of the rag and bone girl. It's not necessarily one girl, although I think it's a very cohesive collection.
We're very aware that it depends how you feel. Every day you feel different. So at the beginning of the collection, there's a really refined, tailored coat. And you can wear that coat if you want to feel slimmer in the body and say less. But there's other days where you think, you know what, I want volume, I want movement in what I'm wearing. I want to walk down the street and have people look at me and pay attention.
In the nightlife, it's one of the only places that incorporates fashion into your actual lifestyle. It's like something that you're actually going to buy, like a collection piece, and interact with it and feel it, and then that becomes you. It becomes a wardrobe piece.
We're looking at like the abstract expressionists, and we're specifically overtaken by Helen Frankenthaler, one of the only female painters of that period.
We're looking at a lot of Robert Morris as well, specifically his later works, those felt pieces that hung on walls, and he would just cut and slash things, leave things kind of raw and undone.
I was looking at the work of Joe Coleman and seeing how intricate, and I'd never heard of Horobaki before. I realized how different it is in our times to Victorian times to what a woman was like then and what was considered beautiful.
We kind of tried to do an artistic installation for this show, so keeping the set clean made the clothes really jump, because the clothes were really embellished and really rich.
I thought that maybe it's time for me to go back to my roots, to the place I was born, to the country of contradiction, the country of richness and poverty, of black and colors. I thought that it would be an interesting place for me to start a collection.
I wanted to start 70s, but not just because I wanted to do flare pants, but more because 70s in Paris were the years where there was making fashion really strong and changing the rules, and I think I'm trying to do that with Bauman.
So I want to stop, look at the past, and try to define the new woman of Versace for today and the future. You give the DJ all the Versace symbols and do a remix.
We try to go different directions so we can actually learn
so you can actually improve the hard edge, because the hard edge is not enough. You have to make sophisticated, you have to make current, and the hard edge, it could be quite cliche.
A lot of times people think about design and they think, what's your inspiration? Are you putting a bunch of pictures on the wall? And for us, this was much more in our mind.
Sometimes I don't even know what the collection really is until we see this here, and then suddenly it kind of clicks. And I feel like that is always my favorite moment of doing the show.
I never have a final opinion about my own collection. The minute I finish one, I have to think about the next one. It's a non-stop dialogue, and if you are not ready to have a non-stop dialogue with fashion, you should do another job.
We have been building the code of what public school is slowly every single season. This is really the first season where we've been able to explore the extensions of what that code means to us.
When we started the process 3 or 4 weeks ago, you started to realize that you had to either do it or not do it. You have to commit from beginning to end in this. You can't do it in halves.
Politics is important, but I want it to be positive. I want people to feel the energy and go, yeah, and maybe young girls kind of go, I want to look into that. What's that?
It needed a couple of years to feel free enough to do suggestions that dare to release from the heritage silhouette and more from my way of thinking.
I'm still building that wardrobe that I was looking for a year ago, in a way. I still open that dressing room and I'm still trying to identify what's missing for the Louis Vuitton women's. It's just a year, so I'm keeping building.
It was Oscar that was really thinking about the future of his house. I wanted to work with Oscar and we were going to work alongside, but as you know, that wasn't the case. For me, it's still very important to honour his legacy here today.
When I'm in Tokyo and I walk around the streets and I see the kids wearing my clothes and coming up to me and wanting to talk to me, it makes me want to come back and do more, do better. I'm inspired by them being inspired by me.
You love it till you hate it till you love it. It's just that kind of obsession, compulsion, pleasure, pain principle. Yesterday of any season, I say, I'm never doing this again. And of course, today I'm really happy I did it again.